So let's launch Photoshop CS6. We're going to have a very quick overview basically of the interface of Photoshop without going into any major depth of exploration with regard to any of the particular tools. Starting at the top, we have the usual menu bar: File, Edit, Image, Layer Type, Select, Filter, View, Window, and Help. Immediately below that, we have this bar, which is referred to as the Options bar, and it displays options for the presently selected tool. Where do we select the tools for which these options are displayed? Well, they are displayed in what was previously referred to as the Tools palette, but is now referred to as the Tools panel. Now, the terminology police aren't going to hunt you down if you still use the term Tools palette, but I just thought I'd point that out. In official Photoshop terminology, it's now referred to as the Tools panel. And if you have had some previous experience with older versions of Photoshop, then you will notice that the standard is now a single column display for the Tools palette. I will still use that term because it's commonly used in the vernacular of Photoshop terminology. So we can switch between the traditional, you might call it, two-column display and a single display by using this double arrow key on the left. Simply a matter of preference. I actually quite like the single column display, so I am going to stick with it for the duration of these tutorials. Now, the actual tools in the Tools palette, let's take a look. The first tool you'll see is the Select or Move tool. The hotkey, as we can see in our tooltip, is V. You'll want to become familiar with these hotkeys as it speeds up your workflow with Photoshop. Then we have the Marquee Selection tools, or elliptical marquee selection tool is the specific one that's selected right now. The default is rectangular marquee selection tool. You'll notice that we have this pop-up menu, a sub-menu, showing multiple related tools within that same drop-down. Well, to access that, simply click and hold any of these tools that has that little white arrow pointing to the bottom right. See it just there? You'll see a few of them, quite a few of them have that arrow. So related tools are just grouped there for our convenience, and you can choose between which one you want. The hotkey is also referenced, so M is the hotkey for the marquee selection tools. Polygon selection, lasso selection, and magnetic lasso selection tool. Hotkey is L. It will open whichever tool was last used. And you can see that every time I change my tool, the options bar is updated to reflect the options for that tool. Crop, perspective crop, slice tool, slice select tool. Eyedropper, which is used for selecting a color from our canvas to be reused in some way. Color sampler, ruler, and note tool. Again, just a cursory glance here. Spot healing brush, patch tool, content aware move tool, and red eye tool. All of these tools are specifically designed, not exclusively, but specifically designed for editing and improving the quality of photos. So holiday snaps and that kind of thing, but any photo. They can also be used in other contexts once you understand algorithmically what's happening in the background. Then they can be of an aid to you in pretty much any industry and any application of Photoshop. Brush tool, pencil tool, color replacement tool, and mixer brush tool. We have the clone stamp and pattern stamp tool. History brush, art brush, eraser, background eraser, magic eraser, gradient and paint bucket, which are used to fill the canvas either with a solid color or a gradiated color value from one to another. You can use complex gradients, radial gradients, etc. Blur, sharpen, smudge, dodge, burn, sponge. Now we get to our vector tools. This gray line and then this second gray line delineates a group of 4 menus dealing with vector related tools and objects. So we have basic path manipulation tools here, a path has an element of a vector, of course. Horizontal type tool, vertical type tool, etc. These are text tools. Text is a form of vector object. Path selection, direct selection, and then we have our actual vector drawing tools. We can make these different types of vector shapes by default, like rectangle, rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon tool, line tool, custom shape tool. Custom shape tool is where the real power comes in when we define our own shapes. Hand tool, rotate view tool, and zoom tool. Then we get down here to the color swatches. We can change our foreground color, just click and then select a different value. You can change the hue by clicking and dragging on this right hand bar. You can change the saturation by dragging horizontally. The level of saturation of color from white to fully saturated basically is what you're working with. And then vertically we can change the level of brightness from black to white, full brightness. So you have these three sort of values that you're balancing there: hue, saturation, and brightness. We can also of course change the background in the same way. And interestingly enough, then we have this little button here which can be used to switch the two color values at any time, the hotkey for which is X. Typing X on the keyboard will also do that. Okay. So that's a very quick look at the basics of Photoshop. Of course, we have all these other panels or windows, like the navigator, swatches, layers, etc. But we're going to examine them in their own videos. So the last thing we're going to do in this video is create a brand new document by clicking File, New. And let's make it something like 1024 by 1024 square and to the power of 2, just because I like it. Click OK. And what I want you to do is just start drawing and experimenting with some of these options that you see. Just have a little bit of fun, see what you can come up with. We are of course going to learn to use all of this stuff properly in later lessons. When you're happy enough to move on, I'll see you in the next lesson.